Hello everyone, thanks for joining us this Saturday morning, and today I'd like to talk to you about how to easily determine the trend and the strength of the trend, I should say, for virtually any market, any time frame, any direction. And I'm going to show you how simple it is to determine the strength of trend with a new tool that we've developed that you can only find on our platform at ProTrader Strategies. For example, let's look at this older chart here in Netflix. Let's say you were lucky enough to buy somewhere down here based on the breakout of this consolidation. All right, so now you're long the position and you're starting to wonder, well, how long should I hold on to this, or where exactly do I get out? Because I know the trend's going to end sooner or later, and you really have no idea. Well, this tool actually would have given you an early warning right here at the very top of this run. And then when we sold off a little bit, after this second rally, it would have given you a second warning sign prior to this large decline in the stock. And once again, this tool which we developed is only available on our new platform, the ProTrader Strategies Primo Charts, okay? The educational platform that actually teaches you how to trade. So welcome, my name is Steven Primo. Thanks for taking time out of your Saturday morning. And as I stated, I want to really educate you, and this is an educational company because we're all about putting the power back in your hands. So this is going to be a great educational presentation, sharing with you a new tool that we've really gotten a lot of great testimonials and rave reviews from our students who are using it around the world. It's really helped them determining whether they should stay in a trade or whether they should get out, or whether they should actually think about getting into something if the trend is about to dissipate or if it has some strength left in it, okay? So I'm going to show you a lot of examples. Firstly, I'm going to show you older examples just to show you how the process works with applying this technique. And then I'm going to share with you some actual real-world examples on our platform. And we can take some requests from people who are interested in looking at particular stocks on their behalf. So this is going to be a great educational presentation. But before we begin, as always, we're first required by law to share this with you. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to share with you a lot of performance results using this technique, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And as always, all these examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Now, speaking of education, if you haven't done so already, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. I post a lot of great free educational posts on a daily basis, little bits of financial wisdom to help you with your trading, to actual signals that our strategies have generated. So a lot of great free education. Feel free to follow us on Twitter if you haven't done so already. Okay, so let's begin. But before we actually start the presentation, once again, we're a little bit different from other webinars. We like to take your questions. I love to answer each and every one of them, but we don't want to stop at each and every slide, because if we do that, we'll take far too much time out of your Saturday morning. I know you have lots of things planned, a lot of things to do. Maybe you want to spend the entire day looking at charts. So if you have a question, please wait till the end of the presentation. I promise I'll get to each and every one of them, but just wait till the end. And I will only answer one question prior to today's presentation, and that is the most popular. Is this being recorded? Yes, it is. We record all of our webinars, so if you have to leave early or if you're having technical issues, many times if you just log off and then log back on again, the issues will be resolved. Trust me, I know all about it. A couple of weeks ago, I was giving a presentation and the entire sound went out. So I had to log off and log back on of my computer just to get the sound going again. So many times that will help many times. So don't worry, we will send each and every one of you a link to this recording. Now, when I first started trading some 42 years ago, I struggled the way many of you have struggled in the past, or perhaps are struggling currently. So I know exactly what you're going through or what you've gone through. I've been there with you. I have gone through all these same, disappointing times and experiences myself. I was on the floor trading when this was going in my trading, so I was having a very difficult time. I had some mentors who saw how much I was struggling, and here's one of the first things they told me, and it's just sunk in, and I want to share it with you. They said, Steve, the market, not some guy on TV, not some institution, or not the big banks, but the market is always telling you what it wants to do. Your only job as a trader is to listen to the market and then jump on board, okay? So I had a very difficult time, digesting that at the beginning, because I said, what do you mean the market is telling me? I thought I'm using all these great indicators and all these, different strategies and systems and techniques and looking at all the earnings reports and, economic numbers. How am I still struggling if I'm listening to the market? And they said, well, you're really not listening to the market. You're listening to people's interpretations of what the market is. Why not listen to what the market's telling you? With a few simple tools, a few simple techniques or indicators, you can learn how to listen to what the market's telling you. So this is what specialist trading and pro trader strategies is all about, teaching you how to listen to the market so that ultimately you can make your own trading decisions. Now, today's presentation has a great way of listening to the market so you can determine the strength of the trend. And that's really half the battle, right? I mean, how many times have you been in a trade and you're thinking, boy, this is great, this is amazing, I'm making a lot of money, and you know what, I think if it just goes up to this level, I'll make thousands of dollars, I'll just wait for that. And then you wake up the next day and maybe something happens, some news comes out or whatever, and the trend just reverses and you're giving everything back, right? That's extremely disheartening. So what if you had a tool that could help you know, not guarantee, but at least help you know if you're running out of steam or there was still a lot of momentum left in? Well, this is what we're going to be talking about and sharing with you today. This is our new custom crosshair tool. We call it our strength of trend tool. All right. Now, if you're not familiar with this or with crosshairs, let me just share with you the standard crosshairs on a lot of platforms and what they mean. Crosshair is just a tool. Mainly people use crosshairs to find out where the last price is or to get a determination of, where price is, and you can put the cursor on the actual bar to find out where you are on the chart. So crosshairs basically look like this. What we've done is take it up a step, and we've added two more diagonal lines, the top red diagonal line and the bottom green diagonal line, and they're going to help us determine the strength of trend. So this is our custom crosshair feature, okay, our strength of trend tool. Now, in order to apply it, you have to know how to use it properly. So here are the requirements for this specific technique. We're going to need just two indicators. The first one is the buy-sell line. A lot of you who are new to my presentations would say, what is the buy-sell line? Is that some other indicator? Is this something that you're selling me that I have to buy and spend $5,000 on? No, you have the buy-sell line in your possession right now. As we look here on our platform, you would simply click on buy-sell line in the upper green strategy tab, and you see that the buy-sell line is just a 50-period simple moving average. Now we have upwards of 4 different ways to display it, but the simplest and most basic way is just to plot the 50-period moving average, okay? And it determines whether you should be buying or selling. Now I've given webinars on that before. I won't go into a lot of detail, but if you ever hear me talk about the buy-sell line, it's the 50-period simple moving average. That's all it is. All right, so we plot the 50-period moving average. It doesn't matter if you're looking at an intraday tick chart. Doesn't matter if you're looking at a monthly chart. You always want to have the 50-period plotted. Now, the second requirement of this technique is to apply our custom crosshairs. Once again, you can only find this on our platform. So, as we see this really nice trend ensuing in this older chart of Netflix, we see this large, or I should say, a very steep incline in the 50-period moving average. This is how we're going to determine, it's going to help us in determining if there's still strength in that trend. So what we do is we click on the custom crosshair. Here's the icon up here on our platform, and here's what you see. Now, most of the time when people use crosshairs, what they do is they position the crosshair over the price, over the bar, the price bar. We use it differently. What we're going to be doing is positioning over the 50-period moving average. So we want to see where a high was made, or a short-term high, and then we locate that, identify that, and just move down and scroll down to the 50-period moving average. What we're looking for is the relationship of the 50-period moving average and its relation to the diagonal crosshairs. That's going to tell us the strength of trend, okay? And you're going to once again see that this is only available on our platform, the PTS Primo Charting Platform, but you'll see how simple it is because it really teaches you how to trade and really identifies if the trend is still intact or if it's running out of steam. Okay, so let's look at some technique examples and I'll show you exactly how to apply this. All right, so we're looking at Netflix, and let's say, going back once again to our scenario, you were lucky enough to get it long here. Regardless of what your system, your strategy, It could be based off technical analysis. It could be based off of fundamental news. Makes no difference, but you bought right here and you have a very nice profit. But you're starting to worry because you're saying, I don't want to give this profit away and lose it. I've done that before in the past. So what you want to do is click on the custom crosshairs and then pick the nearest short-term top as it's being applied at the moment. And then when a top or close to a top has been formulated, what you want to do is put the custom crosshair right on the 50-period moving average that is directly below that short-term top or close to that short-term top. All right. Now, once you've done that, now you want to see where the 50-period moving average, the buy-sell line, is in relation to that bottom diagonal. Okay. If you see the 50-period or the green line, or I should say, I'm sorry, the blue line well below, that's a sign that you're running out of steam. Okay. Anywhere where it's touching or above that green diagonal, that means that the trend is still intact and it most likely has more room to the upside. So as you see here, we were kind of just touching or just on top of that green line, not enough to tell us that we were well below. And look what happened. The trend ensued. It continued going higher. So as it goes higher, we can move our custom crosshair feature up until we get to another short-term top right here, this highest close. So we move our custom crosshair right below where it correlates with the 50-period moving average. Now look at the relation, okay? We are well below that. So this is a clue. Remember, this is not a system. This is not a trading strategy. This is a clue telling you that we may be running out of steam. Even if it's just for a short time there, you may want to take some profits. Maybe sell a portion of your position. Maybe you just want to raise your stop. Either way, it's basically just saying you should have some caution here because we may be running out of gas, and this is a good place to, take some heat. All right, and as we can see, in the next week, we fell out of bed. But look what happened. We sold off a good portion, but then we quickly went up and made new highs. So let's say you had sold a portion of your position, all right? Now, as we close and have new closing highs, we move the custom crosshair corresponding to the 50-period just below that, okay? And as we can see, we are still well below the lower diagonal line. So this is still giving us a warning, say, listen, even though we recouped our losses and even though we went back up again, the custom crosshair is telling us that there's not a lot of momentum. This is basically like throwing a tennis ball up in the air. Now, the first 3/4 of the projectile up is based off of momentum. There's a lot of strength behind it. But the last quarter of the ball really has no strength behind it. It's just kind of just going off of momentum, off of steam. And there's not a lot of strength, but even though it's still going up, there's not a lot of strength behind that. That's the same concept with this. Even though we still went up, there's not a lot of strength left in this upward move. So the custom crosshair is telling you that most likely we're going to have another sell-off again, and as you can see, look what happened. Now see, this is one of the biggest mistakes a lot of traders make is they'll get into a good trade, they'll get cocky and say, my goodness, I'm making tremendous amounts of money. And they'll start to figure out and calculate, well, if I stayed in a couple more days, I'll have this many more thousands of dollars. And then you get even more cocky and say, well, gosh, if I stay in more, I'll have more. And pretty soon you're projecting how you can almost retire in the next week if it keeps going up. And then one day some news comes out or something happens. There's always an excuse. There's always a justification where everything falls out of bed. And then you're saying, well, I'll buy some more, or, well, don't worry, it'll come back the way it did last time. And it never does, the way you see here. So this is how this tool can really help you. All right, let's look at some more older examples here. Here's an example in UPS. Now, we were below the buy-sell line, meaning you should only look at this from a negative point of view. But once we crossed above, then you should have a buyer's bias. All right, let's say once again you got long somewhere here. All right, off this little low, waiting for a breakout. You've got a nice profit in play, and so you start to say to yourself, well, maybe I want to sell a portion of my position. So you get the custom crosshairs out. Click that on our icon, and over this first high that was made, you place it above, not the price bar, but above the 50-period moving average, wherever that is. And as you can see, the 50-period moving average is within the realm of those two diagonal lines. So there's nothing you have to worry about in terms of this tool. This tool is telling you there's still some room to the upside left. All right, so the stock continues to go higher, and as it makes new highs, we move it up, and now we can see off of this highest close here, Well, guess what? We're starting to see signs where it is below. So this is telling us that it may be running out of steam. It's not guaranteeing, because I told you I've seen this before where it shows this and it continues to go higher and higher. But it's just a cautionary indicator. It's not an indicator telling you that picks the top or the bottom. It's just giving you a ways to have some caution. So at this point, probably the best thing to do would be to raise your stop, maybe sell half of your position. It's entirely up to you. This is not a system or a trading technique, once again. I mean, trading strategy, once again. It's just a technique to determine the strength. But that would have been a great idea, because look what happened. All of a sudden, you gave away a lot of portion. As we move this even higher, look what happened. The 50 period is even more pronounced below that lowest diagonal. Another example here in PSA, okay? Once again, let's say you got long somewhere here. As it made this first high here, well, it was kind of a little below, a little touching, not enough to give us an idea. And even though we sold off, because the tool didn't really give us any warning here, this may have been viewed as a buying opportunity. And that would have been a great idea using one of our pullback methods, because look what happened, all right? So as it made higher highs, you just simply move the indicator up, and we're still not giving enough of indication here that it's running out of gas. We're right on the lowest diagonal line, but we're still not giving us enough pronouncement below. So we kind of go into a pause here for a couple of weeks, and then we go higher. Now, as we're going higher off of this closing high, guess what? We start to see the 50 period below. So this is telling us not to exit, not to get out, but it's giving us an early warning. Now, here's what a lot of our students have told us what they do. So what they'll do, either with their entire position or maybe a portion of the position, they'll start to use this as a stop placement tool. So the first time they see that we have pronounced movement below the lowest diagonal line, what they'll do is place a stop below the next bar. And they'll continue to raise that stop with each preceding bar until they get stopped out. Now, let's say you're lucky enough to have 100 shares of this. You got a nice profit. You sold, let's say, the entire position. But let's say you only wanted to sell half of it. Okay, so you sell 50 shares, all right? And now you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm out of this, but look at it's going higher. Well, as it goes higher, guess what? Now the 50 is even more below the lowest diagonal. So you may want to include that last 50 shares with this to put it below the next bar and continue to track it. And that would have been a great idea. Oops, because look what happened. It fell out of bed. So this is a great way to give you a warning. Lastly, we look at BIIB, and here's how it may take a few times for it to kick in, but it eventually does. For example, as we see this high that was made right here, the 50 period is above the lowest diagonal, so there's really nothing to do here. Even though we sold off, once again, this could be viewed as a buying opportunity. And that would have been a great idea, because look what happened. Now, as we made this next closing high, you place your custom crosshair not on the price, but right on the corresponding area of the 50 period moving average. Now what do we see? That blue line is below the lowest diagonal. So that's a warning telling you that we may be running out of steam. Not telling you to exit the position, because that's your choice. Just giving you a warning. Now, we went down for a couple of days, but look at, we went right back up. This is where I said it may take a few times. It doesn't always happen at the very beginning, because a lot of times there's still some momentum left in it. So the market went down a couple of times. Let's say you sold your entire position here, and you're saying, boy, this guy, Steve Primo, got me out of this stuff too early, because look at it, it really gapped up. Well, if you use your custom crosshair on this highest close, we are well pronounced below the lowest diagonal. That would have been a good point to exit, because look what happened. Weeks later, we're making lower lows. And even though you would have gotten out here and kicked yourself for not holding on till here, in hindsight, isn't this a much better place to get out looking back as opposed to here, or even lower if it went lower? Now, that's the basic concept. What I want to do right now is share with you some live charts, not live because I know the markets aren't open on a Saturday, but up until yesterday's close with some different examples. And remember, this technique works the best with these really strong moves that have happened. And what you want to do is see if there's more room left in it. In other words, if you have a market that's going sideways, this technique is really not going to apply. Or if you've gotten into a stock and it's gone up for maybe the last couple of days, it's gone up maybe a point, that's not enough. Remember, we need a large move, either up or down, to tell us if there's more movement left in that direction. it would not really make sense if you've got a sideways move, and because that's not what the tool is used for. So we're going to specifically look at some stocks and markets that have had some large moves in one direction to see if they're going to continue in that way. And remember though, I'm going to show you a lot of charts now, but specifically these performance results there's no guarantee that they can be repeated in the future. And please remember that all examples I'm going to show you are strictly for educational purposes only. All right, so let's toggle now over onto our live charts right here, all right? Now, this is what we're talking about when we talk about extremes. We're not just looking at a chart that's been going sideways. For example, if we're looking at this area right here, it wouldn't really help because we're kind of oscillating in a trend, kind of a trendless move here. But this is where this tool really comes in handy when you have these real straight down or straight up moves, okay? Let's say that you were lucky enough to be short this stock, okay, MDP. Let's say that you were lucky enough to have some puts, and maybe you had two, okay, and you had a nice profit somewhere here, and then look what happens. You have a big gap down. You're thinking to yourself, should I get out, or is this thing going to go lower? Well, this is where this tool can really help you. So let me go up to the green strategy tab or our icon tab, click on custom crosshairs, and now the custom crosshairs appears. Now, we have this low that was made just last week or a couple of weeks ago. Okay, what you want to do is put the custom crosshair over that price bar and then go all the way up to where the 50-period moving average was. All right, now as we intersect the 50-period moving average, we see that there's a slight glimmer of the 50-period moving average being above the highest diagonal. So what is that telling us? It's telling us that it may be running out of steam to the downside. It's not guaranteed, but as you can see right there, look what happened. For the last week, we've gone higher. And this would have been possibly a good place to start tracking this, as I told you our students do, where you say, okay, if it trades above here, I'm going to cover. If it trades above here, I'm going to cover. So that's where it did right there, so that's where you cover. Now, remember when this low was made right here, let's go up and see what the tool was telling us. As we oscillate back up, it was telling us, see, as we went right over, the 50-period moving average was below that high diagonal. So that was telling us that there's still room to the downside. So if you were thinking about covering there, this tool was telling you, well, there may be still room to the downside. And as you can see, a week later, it gapped down roughly about 10 points. So this is how versatile this tool is. Now, let's look at another stock here, letter T. Okay, so as we see now, this is the opposite of the coin. This has been going up. Now, one thing I want to mention is that you're going to need a bit of data. In other words, you don't just want to have a week's worth of data. You need at least 2 months. Now, here we have about 3 months of data. That will give you a good, display of the 50-period moving average and of price. Okay. Now, let's say you bought here on this pullback. I believe this was actually a strategy number 4 buy signal here. Let's say you bought, and at this new high that was made right here, you're thinking to yourself, well, let me just see. Okay, so you place right over there. And where is the 50-period moving average in relation to the lowest diagonal? Well, it's above. It's in between that spectrum of the low and high diagonal. So the tool is not telling you that it's run out of steam, okay, according to the tool. Remember, it's not 100% foolproof, but it's just a great way to determine if you have still strength left or not. So guess what? We paused for like a week or two, but then we went back up, and now we're making higher highs. Now, as we made this high right here last week, let's see if there's still strength left in. So we just put our custom crosshair over the price bar in question, and then we just scroll down to the 50. Now we can see that we're starting to get just a little inclination that the 50 period is below. All right, so that's a warning. It's not a guarantee, but it's a warning. So what could you do? Well, if you said, listen, I've got a great profit here for the last month, I'm going to get out. That's your decision. You could say, you know what, I'm going to sell half my position. All right, once again, your decision. We never tell you what to do. We only give you tools so that help you make your decision. Or lastly, you could say, you know what, I had my stop down here at this pivot. I'm going to move it up to this low here, okay? And I'll continue to track it if I want to, maybe right below here. So it's a great way to help you. Now, we don't know if this is going to go down. It could go straight up tomorrow or Monday. But this is giving you a warning that the trend may be running out of steam, okay? All right, let's look at another one that's been in the news lately because it's been going down so quickly. ULTA. Once again, when you see markets like this oscillating above and below the 50-period moving average, that's not where this tool really comes in handy. For example, on this low that was made here, if you put the custom crosshair over, it's not giving you any indication that the trend may be out of place. It's because it's in between the spectrum of the high and low diagonal. But as we close down here, let's see this lowest close. This was just on Thursday, I believe. Let's go all the way back up. And now we have a better idea because the 50-period moving average is above that high diagonal. So what is this tool telling us? It's giving you a warning that this downward trend, this downward spike down may be running out of steam, and maybe if you're short, you want to think about covering. Maybe you just want to move your stop, or maybe you want to exit half the position. Or if you're the type of trader that likes to pick tops and bottoms, I know that doesn't go with our philosophy, but if you were, well, maybe you might want to start thinking about buying for a quick little bounce here. All right, that's not what we suggest, because we don't ever try to pick tops and bottoms. But a lot of our students have told us about great success, how this has helped them pick tops and bottoms. So it's entirely up to you. So that's ULTA. Someone is asking me about SHAK, SHAK, okay. SHAK. I believe this has been going, yeah, this has been going much higher. Okay, let's see. Maybe you bought here and you have a real nice profit and this big up move, okay? So you get the bar that in question and you scroll down. When you put your crosshair right over the 50-period moving average, you see that, well, we were maybe just a little below it. We were right on top of that lower diagonal. So that's telling you that not enough information to really tell you that you're running out of steam yet. All right, so let's move it up to this high right here, which was a couple of weeks ago. We find the high in question, the highest close. We just scroll down and we see, yes, now we are giving a warning by the tool because the blue 50-period moving average is well below that custom crosshair diagonal line. So that's telling us, you know, not necessarily that we've topped out, but we may be running out of steam. And as you can see, this last week we've gone lower. Now, this does not mean it can go higher, but it's telling us to have a little caution in play. If you're long, this is where you should have some caution. Now, once again, as we said, if you're the type of trader that likes to pick tops and bottoms, you could have just simply shorted right here and bought some puts at the market. And for a quick trade, we're not saying this is a style that we promote, but for a quick trade, you could have said, okay, I'm out. We went below that low, and I just made a quick, you know, maybe 5 to 10 points. It's up to you. This is how a lot of our traders like to use this. Okay, someone is asking for KMPR, KMPR. Okay, punch that up. Okay, yeah, this is, see, you want to see this specifically happen with stocks or markets. We're looking at stocks mainly right now, but mainly with markets that have had these big runs, either to the upside, as we saw in SHAK, or to the downside. Now here, once again, the tool would not help because we're oscillating above and below the 50, but once you have a big, strong move, as we had here, here's where it can help you. All right, so obviously, if we thought we were running out of steam here, if we move the crosshair, we see that no, because the 50 period is right in the realm of the top and bottom diagonal, so it's not going to help us. Now we go to this low, which was about created at the end of August. Okay, so we just move our crosshair just above. And as we can see, yes, it's giving us a warning, not a strong one, but just a small warning that you may want to think, be careful if you're short, because the 50 is now above the highest diagonal. All right, let's just go a couple of days more. And as we saw here, yeah, it's still pronounced above that. So it gave you a fairly good warning at roughly 67, and now the stock is up roughly 10 points higher. So do you see how this could have helped you with that? This is the way you want to use it, as an early warning, okay? It's a great, great tool to help you determine that. Let's see. Let's look at, what else do we look at? Let's look at ZS, okay? Someone's asking about ZS. I really don't know what that is, so we'll find out on our benchmark here. ZS Scalar, I'm not really sure of this company. As you can see, this is not where it would help much. Even with this high that was made here, if we scroll down, we see that because we're so close to the 50, it doesn't give us information. We need to be well away from the 50. Those are the markets that are really overextended, and that's where you want to know, well, how much further is this going to go? All right, so as we see with this low that was made right here, if we put our custom crosshair over that, do you see how it really wasn't giving us any information that the trend had ended? Because the blue 50-period moving average was in the spectrum of the top and bottom diagonals. But as we go to this last close, this lowest close here, which was on Friday, let's move our custom crosshair just above Friday. And as we can see, look at this. Now we're starting to show some signs of the 50-period being above this highest diagonal. So this is a clear-cut warning, not a guarantee once again, but a warning coming from this strength of trend tool that if you're short, you may want to start thinking about covering. Maybe you want to cover altogether. Maybe you want to cover half your position. If you have 2 puts, maybe buy back on 1. Or if you can be more conservative, the way our students have told us, you place a stop right here or possibly above this second bar and just track it all the way down if it continues to go more. All right. We are in no way advising you to buy this. We're just telling you the tool is giving you a warning that the trend may be running out of steam. Once again, what you would do is you find the bar in question, usually where you make a new low-term, short-term close, and just scroll up to where the 50-period moving average is. Place your cursor right on top of that, and as you can see, if the 50-period is above, that's the tool giving you a short-term warning. In this case, in ZS, it's telling you that it may be running out of steam to the downside. And it doesn't mean that it's bottomed out. This is not a bottoming out or topping out tool. It's simply telling you that you may have a short-term low in place. It may bounce up for a couple of points and then go lower. But it's a good way to determine that, okay? Last one, somebody's asking about the market. So let's look at the spiders, okay? To conclude here, let's look at and see if this could help us with the current markets, all right? We click up the spiders. Now, let's look at these highs that were being made, and this was in July in the summer, in July, early summer on August, as we made this last short-term high, all right? If we placed our custom crosshair right above the bar in question and then scroll down to the 50 period, look what we had here. We were just a little below, giving this a little warning that we may be running out of steam. Do you see how we did that in the end of July? Remember, at the end of July, some news came out about the tariffs or whatever, economic numbers, whatever you want. There's always a justification to tell you why a market went down. Isn't it funny how before that came out, when we had a new high close, this tool was telling you that we might be running out of steam. That was prior to any news event. That's why it is not required, and we don't in any way put that in any of our tools, because the market, just like my mentors taught me, the market tells you what it wants to do. It told us it wanted to go lower or that it was running out of steam well in advance of this tremendous drop we had in the summer where a lot of people thought we were topping out. Now, if we go back to the last short-term high that was created or short-term close, we put our cursor over there, we see that it was not giving us any indication that we were topping out. Once again, the 50-period moving average was in the realm of the spectrum of the high and low diagonals. So we didn't have any real warning that even though when we had this sell-off that we were running out of steam. But on this higher close, the new higher close here, which was on the 26th of July, well, look at that. We just started to barely go below the lowest diagonal. That was your warning, okay? You didn't have to wait for some news on the tariffs. You didn't have to wait for some economic stuff. I mean, that's silly. I always tell my students, you can look at that if you want, but usually you're a day late and $1 short because the market tells you what it wants to do, usually in advance. There's no reason to worry about that, okay? I mean, I stopped looking at news and reading fundamental tools and things like that. I stopped looking at that 4 decades ago, and I'm still here. So if I don't need it, there's no reason you should. But once again, it's up to you. We're not here to tell you how to trade. We're just telling you what works in terms of consistency. And I have found no consistency in using fundamental news at all, okay? I really never have. All right, so let's go to this last short-term closing high right here, okay, which is on Thursday. Let's see if there's still room left or if we're running out of steam. And according to this tool, there's still room to the upside left. It's not giving us any warning. Now, once again, this is not a guarantee. We could go down 5,000 points tomorrow on Monday, all right? This is not a guarantee. It's not a system. It doesn't pick tops. It doesn't pick bottoms. All it does is give you a warning as to what the market wants to do in terms of its strength of trend. That's all it's doing. Even if we go one day further onto Friday's lower close, it's still telling us not enough information. Why? Because the 50 period is above the lower diagonal. So that's not, enough to give us information. It needs to be below that or above that to give us information, okay? All right, so let's go back to the presentation. Remember, we just shared with you all of these, but remember they were strictly for educational purposes only. So as we conclude, I want to leave you once again with what my mentors taught me. Remember, the market, not some guy in a chat room, not even some guy in a webinar like myself. The market is always telling you what it wants to do. Your job as a trader is simply to listen to the market and then jump on board. That's it, okay? And what did we do today? We taught you a great tool that helps you to learn how to listen to the market. Remember, we're an educational company. Our only goal is simply to educate you so that you can make your own trading decisions. All right, here's the crosshair technique once again. A couple of the high points about it is that you must remember it is not a full-fledged strategy. All right, we cannot in any way tell you that you should be buying off this or selling off this or it's picked a top or a bottom. You can apply this to up and down trending markets. And the further away from the 50-period moving average, the better, because that's what it's simply there for. We're not trying to apply this to sideways markets. We're trying to apply this to markets that have been overextended to see if they're going to continue or if they're running out of steam. Now, you can apply this to higher price markets. Some of our students have gotten back to us and said it seems to work much better with not with markets that are low price, but with higher price, like the $80, $150, $200 stocks, which means that it may lend itself to trading options with this. But that's up to you. And lastly, results may take a few attempts. As you just saw, I showed you a couple examples where it would say that something is bottoming out or topping out in terms of strength, and it would go down or go up for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and then fully resume its trend. So it may take a while. Know this going in, okay? Now ask yourself, before we go into question and answers, do you think this tool could have helped you trading this past year? Maybe this past week. Remember, we only roughly have about 3 more months, full months left in the year. Do you think for the end of the year you could finish out strong with this tool? We have a great offer for you today where we really want to help you finish out strong. We're going to give you a 30-day trial of our platform, which includes the custom crosshair for only $7, okay? Less than the price of a cup of coffee and a donut in some places, all right? Here's what you get, though. You're obviously going to get the custom crosshair feature, which we just spent in detail explaining to you how to use, but it comes with a lot more features, including the enhanced buy-sell line. That's the 50-period moving average. I've given webinars on our Saturday morning presentations that show you different ways and how powerful our enhanced buy-sell line is. In fact, next week I may be giving another one, but that shows you how powerful it is. Also, we have short-term pattern recognition features as well, showing you how to determine the short-term trend of any market, any direction. This comes with a signal scanner for a lot of the features. You can scan for a lot of these short-term and for buy-sell line features, all right? Over 90 of the most prominent technical indicators, but here's a great new addition we have on the platform. These are the auto-generated exit levels, okay? Our strategies, as well as some of our tools and features, generate up and down arrows. Wherever there is one generated, as we see right here in the OLED, that's a signal that is telling you that it's a high probability area to buy. Now, this was generated with one of our strategies, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. It was strategy 5, I believe, okay? Now, someone looking at this would say, well, nothing much happened. See, we went through 3 days of losing, and I'm going to get stopped out pretty soon using a standard stop. But what you have here on our platform is our automatic exit levels that are generated simply by double-clicking on the arrow. Wherever an arrow has appeared, one of our features and one of our tools, you double-click that on, and it will automatically generate exit levels. Now, here, 2 exit levels were generated out of 4. And someone saying right here was, well, wow, this is not working out too well. But look what eventually happened. 3 days later, level number 2 would have been achieved. Now, remember, once again, this is not systematic. We're not telling you where to get out. These are just, little ways to help you make your own decision. But either one would have helped you tremendously in OLED, because look what happened. After that, the stock quickly fell out of bed, and any one of those 2 exit levels could have helped you with your trading. Those are automatically included on our platform for $7. So this is a great, great way to become, accustomed to all the things that I've been using for some 42 years now. This is a 30-day trial, only $7, okay? Here's how to take advantage of this. contact Pro Trader Strategies. I developed the platform with them. I also co-developed the Strength of Trend tool. I would suggest if you have any questions concerning tech support or pricing, say you want to purchase one of our strategies as well, contact them. They would be happy to work with you. They're always willing to give you a discount if you're a member already, if you purchase something. You can call them directly at area code 310-598-6677. Now, they also have a link at the very bottom, and that link will take you to the sign-up page for this $30 deal, but that's not a live link. We've posted a live link in the chat box, so if you go to the GoToWebinar column on the far right, there's a live link that's been posted. All you have to do is click that on, and we'll take you to the sign-up page. But remember, this is a limited time only. Next week, if I talk about the buy-sell line, we may be having a different feature along the lines of being more expensive. So I would take advantage of this. $7 is a great, great price. As I stated before, you're buying a cup of coffee and a donut or a Danish. It's going to be well more than that, and that'll only last you for about 15 minutes. This is going to last you 30 days, and then you can make your decision whether you want to continue or not, okay? Now, I promised the last portion for any questions. Remember, I want to take as many questions as possible, so if you have any, just go to your question and answer box on the far right, type them in, and I will be happy to answer them now, okay? Let's see, someone is saying, I missed the first 15 minutes. Are the crosshair angles at 45 degrees or variable? No, they're not at 45 degrees, they're proprietary. So this is something that you have to use our platform with. They're only found on our platform, okay? But this does come with it. For $7, experiment with them. See if you like it or not, okay? This is a great offer, and you can start using it on any market. Now, today I had a propensity to use it just on stocks. But trust me, I use it on futures. I mainly trade the E-mini futures. It helps me a lot if I'm in a position. If you remember when the market was down 800 points last month, this helped tremendously in determining if we were overextended or not, okay? So it's great for overextended markets, okay? Bill is asking, are the strategies included with the platform? Not with the $7, Bill. I believe the strategies are, the prices are anywhere from $4.95 and up, but that's something you would have to contact Pro Trader Strategies. They may be able to give you a discount with that if you decide to become a member of the platform as well. Once again, they're willing to work with you. They just want you to become a student of ours and a member of ours. And one thing I didn't mention, once you become a member of our platform, even if it's just with the $7 30-day trial, you have my personal email account. So you can always email me and ask me any questions concerning something that you're looking at, okay? Scott says, I use Thinkorswim. Do your indicators work with that? Well, the indicators don't work with that, but our strategies do. In other words, they've given us a way to use their data on to apply our up and down arrows as well as our different indicators as well. But this particular tool, the crosshair, does not work with Thinkorswim, okay? But we have a pet D. We also have our strategies 4 to strategies 9. And that's something, just contact Pro Trader Strategies though, because I know there are a couple of slight alterations you have to make because of Thinkorswim, but they can better explain that. The way our company works is anything regarding tech support or indicators or our platform usage is under the realm of Pro Trader Strategies, okay? Anything concerning teaching and trading of the strategies, all the rules and ways in which to trade, that's my department. So any questions along those lines I can answer much better. But if you're asking about tech support with Thinkorswim or other platforms, sure, our stuff can be applied to them, such as Metastock, MT4, TradeStation, and even Thinkorswim and NinjaTrader. But there are a few alterations because of the way Thinkorswim is set up, okay? Good questions, good questions. People are asking me some more, if there's some more stocks they want to look. I'm sorry, we're just about the end. I don't want to backtrack and look at the platform. And a lot of them are things we may have gone over already. But this is, something that can really help you. But remember, it will best be applied on overextended markets. Because obviously, if you see a market that's gone straight up, or you see a market that's gone straight down, what's the first thing you say? You say, well, wow, that's probably overextended, right? How do I know it's going to stop, or how do I know it's going to keep going up or keep going down? This is where this tool can really help you. But as I said in the highlights towards the end of the presentation, remember, this is not a full-fledged strategy. A strategy actually pinpoints exact areas in which to enter, it pinpoints exact areas in which to exit, and it pinpoints exact areas where to place your stop. That's a strategy or a system. This doesn't do that. All this is doing is giving you a little bit more information, detailed information, if there's still strength left in that move, okay? That's all it's done. Then it's up to you to determine what you want to do. Now, we help you with that every step of the way. Once again, you can always email me and ask for my suggestions, but we're not going to give you any advice to trade because that's not what we do. We're simply an educational company trying to educate you so that you can make your own decisions. Now, think about it. The entire industry is based on you going to a chat room, or you watching some guy on TV, or you going to a webinar and have someone tell you what his system's going to tell you what to buy or sell. But it's not based on telling you how you can make your own decisions. Well, that's where we're different. That's our only goal, to give you information so that ultimately you can make your own trading decisions. And someone would say, well, why do you do that? What's the point of that? Well, think of it. The entire industry is based on you going somewhere and finding out how to trade, basically taking yourself out of the game. If that works so well, look at the statistics. 80 to 85% of all traders fail. So obviously that mode, that system isn't working. It's been my experience for trading for over 4 decades that the only traders who have lasted over a specific period of time, and we're not talking about a couple of months or a couple of years, we're talking about decades, 20, 30, 40 years, are the traders who make their own decisions. That's why Pro Trader Strategies and I develop these techniques and these courses, because we want you to be a successful, consistent trader. We're not trying to have you do well for 6 months and then give it all away the way most traders do. We want you to be trading 20, 30, 40 years down the road. The only way to do that is by being supplied and provided with strong, fundamental education that has stood the test of time. So that's our goal. If we can educate you so that you feel comfortable making your own decisions, then we've done our job, okay? So as you saw today, the attention and detail I gave to educating you, this is really what we're all about. So come on board, $7, okay? Trust me, you cannot go out to breakfast for less than $15, $20 these days, all right? $7, you're going to have over 40 years of education at your fingertips. Plus, you'll be able to email me whenever you'd like, okay? Contact Pro Trader Strategies if you have any more questions concerning tech support. They would be happy to fill you in on prices for strategies. And check out our webinars. There's a lot of information on YouTube, all over the internet, which can help you, educate you, become a consistent trader, okay? As we conclude, I just want to say thank you so much for attending today. I look forward to all of you becoming consistent traders and members of our 30-day trial on the platform. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.